Right now, I'm a board member of the Spruce Creek River Works, the president of the Environmental Council of Volusia, Flagler counties. I think I'm probably president for at least half of the time that I've been a member since 1980. Environmental Council is an organization of a number of groups, primarily environmental, but also public interest groups. We have various Audubon chapters, the Sierra Club, Native Plant Society. The League of Women Voters is not a member. A lot of their members are part of our group. I was born in DeLand in 1954. My parents both were from Central Florida. Father's people were from Sweden as indentured servants to work for Henry Sanford. My mother's people moved to DeLand in 1919. Anyway, my parents met in the Atlanta area during World War II before my father was shipped off to the Pacific, and they were married in 1947. When I was 8, we moved to DeBerry down near the river, and it was a really wild place back then. We had bears in our yard. Sometimes the deer would come through. There were a lot of bobcats in the area. People were still moonshining and stealing copper wire that was strung along the railroad tracks. I was outdoors a lot. My parents both liked to fish. My father did a lot of hunting. We went to fish in the river and over in saltwater in the Spruce Creek, the inlet, the Indian River. Did some camping. I didn't like junior high or high school, but I loved college, what was then Seminole Junior College, and I fell in love with the place. Called the Florida Technological University. Now it's University of Central Florida. The first master's degree in economics, master's degree in 1983. I think it was UCF by that time. A master's degree in public policy where we did statistical analysis on congressional and Senate voting. I presented a paper at the Southern Political Science Association in November 1979, prepared for every attack that the panel could throw on me, but I had an answer for everything they asked or threw at me. I went to work for the city of Ormond Beach as a planner in 1987, primarily to write the comprehensive plan. Did a series of background reports in 1988 and 89. In 1989, we also started drafting our comprehensive plan elements. They were completed and submitted in 1990. And while I was there, I also worked on the Hunters Ridge Development of Regional Impact, as well as I drafted a successful sea turtle protection beachfront lighting ordinance. The beachfront lighting ordinance had a lot of new information, primarily from a PhD candidate, Blair Witherington, looking at different types of lights. And he found that the low-pressure sodium lights had very little impact on turtles as opposed to the other various light sources. Comprehensive plan, the rules, the backbone of what the ordinance a county or city has. There's no waiver or variance from the comprehensive plan. Fully abide by the comprehensive plan. There was a court case years ago where South Florida County approved a very big multifamily development, many buildings. The public showed that it was inconsistent with the comprehensive plan and that the county and the developer knew that and still approved it. And the judge had the structures demolished. I was always an outdoors person. I always cared about the environment, but I think a lot of people joined the Sierra Club and Audubon Society during the Reagan administration. James Watt, or your secretary or something like that, and he infuriated a lot of people. So I joined the Sierra Club sometime in the early 80s. In 1985, the chair of the local Sierra Club asked me to head up the Outstanding Florida Waters movement. So I accepted, and then I really got into it big time then. The Outstanding Florida Waters program makes sure that water quality in a certain water is not degraded. Tomoka River and Spruce Creek are naturally drained swamps, the acid from the swamps. Problem is, in the more than 50 years since the Clean Water Act and more than 30 years that both of them have been outstanding Florida waters, that the water quality has been allowed to deteriorate. Our aquifer here in Volusia County is primarily charged on the DeLand Ridge with a little bit of recharge on the Rima Ridge, center part of the county. Federal 208 program explored the possibility of using central wetlands of the county as a source of recharge. But a water management district study in the late 80s showed that was largely incorrect, that there was not good enough connectivity between the swamps and the aquifer to affect more recharge. Was a possibility is the area near the Port Orange well field, east of Interstate 4. Managed the well field for Port Orange. Quentin Hampton and Associates did pumping tests, and when they pumped the well field real hard, they dried up the nearby swamps in that area. But the rest of the county wetlands are not good recharge, but the DeLand Ridge and the Rima Ridge are. If you don't have good recharge to the aquifer, which we don't, we're taking out more water than we're putting or allowing to go back, then that affects our springs. Volusia, Floridan sole source aquifer, it takes in virtually all of Volusia County and part of Flagler County and a little bit of Putnam County. Most of Florida, the aquifer is interconnected, but ours is segregated by a series of fault lines that pretty much go around the county at its lines. Bob Haviland initiated this, and he was very concerned that since we do have a segregated aquifer, that we protect it. Believed that at least by having the federal designation, that he could keep at least governments, any entity getting federal money, from getting federal money to do something that would harm the aquifer. We have to have various exceptional ecological, historical, or recreational characteristics. The Tomoka River, for example, is a birthing area for manatees. That's one of its major environmental attributes. It's also a great fishing place. History, the Native Americans had a major village where Tomoka State Park now sits. Spruce Creek has, at least for the East Coast, a large melangina snail. It's about 8 inches long and it eats oysters. A type of snail is found in some of the rivers that flow into the Gulf of Mexico, but it's not found anywhere else on the Florida East Coast. A report of porpoises giving birth in Spruce Creek. And of course, Spruce Creek has a lot of history with the Menorcan settlement, the Dunlawton estate, Humble Place with the Snow White Cottage. There's a mound at the Doris Leeper property where a circle of 5 skulls found buried in that mound when someone excavated it in the 1800s. Places in a state park would be an outstanding Florida waters. I think there's Bulow Creek, Tomoka River, and Spruce Creek. Blue Spring Run would also be an OFW because it's inside the state park.